Portland sees a second week of sluggish sale prices in both our week-to-week numbers and compared to last year at this time. Mortgage rates did lift just a bit, but remained at some of the lowest levels we've seen so far this year. It's time to take a look at the very latest in our local stats and trends. Hello everyone, RRMilligan here bringing you the very latest in our local real estate stats and trends. The market sample I work with includes the full Portland metro area, including Southwest Washington. As always, if you'd like to know what's going on specifically in your neck of the woods, just shoot me an email or post your questions here in the comment section. Like I mentioned at the top of the video, the average sale price in Portland metro is down for the second week in a row. It's down 1% from the previous week, which isn't surprising. Sale prices do typically decline through the end of the year and a little bit beyond, a couple months beyond in a normal market cycle. Compared to the same week last year, prices were down about 1.5%. But when we pull back and look at the bigger picture, the average sale price so far in the month of September compared to the same time period in 2024, prices are down, but just by a hair, by less than $400. So statistically pretty much flat. That's a difference of just 0.06%. It would be great to have a couple more data points on this, but it is starting to look like prices are trending lower again. So talking about supply, the supply of homes for buyers to purchase was up just a small amount. There was an increase in the number of homes that hit the market this past week, so homes that were new to the market. It was up over the previous week by almost 20%. Compared to last year at this time, it was only up about 7%. On the other hand, the number of sellers who pulled their properties off the market was pretty high this last week. I looked back over the last 4 weeks, and on average, we've seen a 26% jump in the number of sellers who pulled their homes off the market compared to 2024, supporting the reporting that we've heard nationally that a lot of sellers are pulling their properties off the market rather than taking a lower price for them. Now onto the demand side of the equation. Buyer demand keeps holding on. The number of new purchase contracts agreed to by buyers and sellers this past week was up by a small margin, and it landed in the range that we've been seeing for several months now. You can see that here in this graph. Even though the number of new contracts was off last year's number by 7, we've outpaced last year's demand for 10 of the last 12 weeks. Now on to mortgage rates, kind of the big story for the last couple of weeks. Mortgage rates on Thursday morning were up, but just by a little bit, by 1/8 to 1/4 of a point compared to last week's lows. The best rate that I could find advertised on Thursday morning in Portland was in the range of about 6 to 6.125%. And that's with like 3/4 to a full discount point. The yield on the 10-year Treasury was inching up on Thursday as markets watched for a key inflation report that's expected on Friday. That report that is coming out on Friday has the potential to send rates in one direction or the other. As always, if there is a significant change in mortgage rates by Friday, I'll post a note right here in the comment section. There were a couple more interesting points that caught my eye in this last week's statistics. The days on market remained unchanged from the previous week, which was down from a couple of weeks earlier, which is kind of a strange drop that we normally don't see this time of year. The number of price reductions was still pretty high this past week, but honestly not that much higher than last year at this time. We had 892 price reductions this year compared to 849 last year. So let's sum up the biggest trends that we saw this past week. Sale prices were down for the second week in a row. Supply did inch up just a bit. Demand is still pretty steady, and mortgage rates were up, but just barely from the previous week. Well, there you have it, the biggest trends that we're watching in Portland residential real estate. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I hope that you found something relevant in the report. Have a great weekend, and I will see you right here next week.